We came across a story the other day. I don't know what you can frame this as other than perhaps a cautionary tale about drinking, but that's only half the story because the best part of the story is the ending, which we'll get to in a second. So Bob Brody, who is an essayist and author of the memoir Playing Catch with Strangers, a family guy reluctantly comes of age, tells a story, this is in a recent Wall Street Journal article, about having started drinking at a very young age, I'm sure like a lot of other people, in college. That's when he was 18 years old. He is now 72 and just stopped cold turkey and writes about what it was like, and I thought we should share this today. Mr. Brody, you said call you Bob. Bob, I thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yes, happy to be with you.
Let's wind this back if we can, just really, really quickly. So you're in school, you're at university, you start drinking, and like many others, I guess you think, well, this is not a big deal. I just kind of, it's a passage, right? And then you just never stopped?
That's right. I enjoyed it. I kept enjoying it. I drank as long as it was pleasurable, and that's just how it went.
When do you realize, or when did you realize you might have a problem?
I realized it probably in my mid-30s. It was becoming much too regular a habit. It was never interfering with my life as far as I could tell. I was managing to function well. I did not lose a job. I did not hit anybody. I did not insult my boss. But it was just I realized that it felt like I was too dependent on it, and it was beyond my control. And also I was aware that I had a family history. This was something that went unmentioned in the article, and that meant that I might have a genetic predisposition to alcoholism. Luckily it was never, only after my early years, only in my early years was it extreme in any way, mm-hmm. because for most of my life, I drank and I got a little tipsy, and that was about it. Once I was past my 20s and 30s, I absolutely never got drunk. But the gist of it is that I liked the sensation it gave me. It kind of numbed me. It took me out of myself a little bit. It released some of my inhibitions in social settings. And so that was it.
As people hear you say this, they might think, well, that's fine. You're basically, let's not call you a functioning alcoholic because you weren't an alcoholic and you certainly had no trouble functioning, it seems like. You said you quit at 35. My understanding in the article was you quit hard liquor at 35 and switched
Correct.
to wine. Is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. I thought that I could swap them out and that I would eliminate the problem if I simply stopped drinking vodka, gin, or scotch. And so I switched to wine, and that was fine as far as it went. Wine is obviously much milder. It's got less alcoholic content. And also it felt vaguely sophisticated to be drinking wine instead of gin and vodka. I felt just a little continental about it, but that was a kind of a gross misunderstanding on my part, because alcohol is alcohol. Whatever the alcohol content, you can be drinking too much if you're drinking beer. You can be drinking too much if you're drinking wine or vodka. It kind of makes no difference. So I was pleased that I quit the hard liquor, and then I went on to wine. And again, I never went over the edge or even came all that close to it. But it was, I was dependent on it, and I thought about it too much, and I hated having to think about it too much. I would calculate how much wine I had in the house, and did I need to go buy some more, and how long was that going to last me? And it just got tiresome.
You also mentioned that at one point, you went to see a doctor who obviously told you what you'd expect to hear, which was that you need to sort of slow down, cut back, and you listened, but that didn't last very long.
No, it happened at some point in my it first happened at some point in my 60s. I did tell my doctor that I thought I might drink a little too much, and he said, well, maybe you should just stop for a little while. He suggested that I take a 3-week hiatus, and I did, and I felt phenomenal, and it was easy to stop for 3 weeks. But as soon as the 3 weeks were up, I felt I'd passed my test, and I went back to drinking. But on this last go-round, it was more serious. My doctor here in Italy told me that I should limit myself to 1 drink, and I found myself kind of bargaining and saying, well, I mean, would it be so bad if I had 2 drinks a night? And she was very insistent and said, no, absolutely, 1. And I talked about this with other doctors, too, whom I happened to be interviewing about whether you had to stick to 1 drink a night or could get away with 2 or 3. And they, too, were pretty insistent about it. And so at that point, and so I tried it. I figured, okay, 1 drink a night. I had 1 drink my first night. The second night I had 2 drinks. And the third night I had 3 drinks. And I realized this was an unfortunate trend. It was obvious where I was headed. And it was also obvious that I couldn't manage to limit myself. So it seemed it was going to be an all or nothing proposition with me. There was no middle ground. There was no gray area. There was no more bargaining that I could do with myself. I just had to stop.
You know, people listening to this are thinking, you say you just had to stop. And the first question I think most people would ask was, how difficult was that? But was it difficult for you when you'd made your mind up that that's what you had to do?
It was not. And it was easy because I think, this is just my theory, I had made up my mind. And this has happened to me before in my life when I just made up my mind about something. It happened when I was in my 20s and I was a 2-pack-a-day cigarette smoker, and I just decided to quit, and I quit. It was after 6 years, and I was only in my 20s, and thank goodness I quit that long ago. I would hate to think what it would have done to my health by now. But for me, it was a matter of just making the decision. And one reason I was so relieved about how easy it was is that it told me something. In effect, it told me that my problem could never have been all that bad, because if you really are just kind of an out-and-out alcoholic, I mean a blackout drunk, if you will, quitting is just, I doubt it's going to be that easy. And I mean, maybe I'd watched too many movies about alcoholics drying out and seeing spiders on the wall and having nightmares and convulsions and who knows what else. But it was easy. And that's not to say that people who drink too much should find it as easy as I found it. I just think I was lucky.
But if I can, as we wrap up here, the message to anybody else listening to this, maybe kind of facing the same situation you're in, having drunk for most of their adult lives, is it's okay and it's not as hard as you might think to quit?
All I can say is that sobriety is highly recommended. I recommend it highly. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I finally quit. I wish I had done it sooner, but I did it when I did it, and that's good enough for me.
And I like the last words of the article, which are, you've learned that sobriety can be downright intoxicating, which is a great finish.
Thank you so much.
Bob, I thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron.
Take
Thank
good
you
care.
for yours.
You bet.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.